Good day, everyone. I'm Maljan Heveliano Osho, a student of Caraga State University in the graduate school, taking up Doctor of Education in Educational Management. This video is an educational purposes only. The Educational Management 309 is a course requirement in graduate school of Caraga State University. So this video, I'm going to discuss about the curriculum and instruction decision framework. So curriculum instruction decision framework is this refers to a systematic guide used by educational leaders, school administrators, and teachers in making informed decisions regarding curriculum planning, implementation, instructional delivery, assessment, learning resources, and continuous improvement. In the Philippine educational system, these decisions are guided by the Constitution, Republic Acts, DepEd orders, DepEd memoranda, and policy frameworks to ensure that education is relevant, inclusive, equitable, and learner-centered. In the Department of Education, it emphasizes that curriculum and instructional decisions should be evidence-based, responsive to learners' needs, aligned with national standards, and supportive of quality education for all learners. These are legal bases supporting curriculum and instruction decision framework. The first legal basis for this is the 1987 Philippine Constitution. The Philippine Constitution in 1987 in Article 14, Section 1 states that the state shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality education at all levels and shall take appropriate steps to make such education accessible to all. The implication of this curriculum decisions that the curriculum must promote quality education. The instruction should be inclusive and learner-centered. All schools are required to ensure equitable learning opportunities. Next is the Republic Act number 10533. This law institutionalized the K to 12 basic education. Major curriculum decision framework. The curriculum shall be learner-centered, inclusive, developmentally appropriate, culture-sensitive, inquiry-based, contextualized, relevant, flexible, and globally competitive. The instructional decision framework that teachers should employ varied teaching strategies, integrate technology, contextualize lessons, localize learning materials, use authentic assessment, and develop higher order thinking skills. The law serves as the primary legal basis for curriculum planning and instruction implementation in the Philippine basic education. The Republic Act number 10533, also known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, institutionalized the K-12 basic education program in the Philippines and established the legal framework for curriculum development and instructional delivery in basic education. The law mandates a curriculum that is learner-centered, inclusive, developmentally appropriate, culture-sensitive, inquiry-based, contextualized, relevant, flexible, and globally competitive to ensure that learners acquire the knowledge, skills, values, and competencies needed for lifelong learning and national development. It emphasizes that curriculum decisions should address learners' diverse needs, local context, and emerging global demands while maintaining high standards of educational quality. As a result, these schools and teachers are encouraged to continuously improve curriculum implementation through evidence-based planning, effective instructional practices, and regular curriculum evaluation. The next legal basis for this curriculum and instruction decision framework is the Republic Act number 9155. The 9155 provides schools with greater authority to make curriculum and instructional decisions that are responsive to local context while maintaining adherence to national educational standards established by the Department of Education. Through shared accountability between school leaders and teachers, the Act promotes effective curriculum implementation, quality instruction, and continuous school improvement to achieve better education outcomes for the learners. The curriculum decision implications: school heads shall lead curriculum implementation, supervise instruction, improve school performance, and strengthen instructional leadership. In the teacher's side, they are expected to implement the national curriculum, adapt instruction to learners' needs, and improve classroom practices. This Republic Act number 9155 on the instructional shall be play-based, developmentally appropriate for child-centered, experiential, and age-appropriate. Curriculum decisions should focus on the holistic child development. Next is the Republic Act number 10157. This act, also known as Kindergarten Act, institutionalized compulsory and universal kindergarten education as an integral part of the Philippine basic education system. The law recognizes that early childhood education is a critical stage in a child's cognitive, physical, social, emotional, and language development, providing a strong foundation for a lifelong learning. It mandates the development, providing implementation of a developmentally appropriate curriculum that prepares young learners to formal schooling through meaningful, engaging, and enjoyable learning experiences. Finally, the curriculum and instructional decision in kindergarten should prioritize the holistic development of children by creating learning environments that are nurturing, inclusive, and responsive to their developmental needs rather than emphasizing purely academic instruction. The instructional framework, the play-based, that should primarily use play as a medium for learning because children learn best through exploration, imagination, and interactive activities that stimulate curiosity, creativity, and problem-solving skills. In developmentally appropriation, teaching strategies, learning activities, and assessment methods should match the learner's developmental stage, recognizing that young children have unique cognitive, emotional, physical, and social characteristics that influence how they learn. In a child-centered, also instruction should focus on the interests, needs, abilities, and individual pace of each child, allowing learners to actively participate in the meaningful experiences that promote independence, confidence, and positive attitudes towards learning. The experiential learning should be based on the hands-on activities, real-life experiences, discovery, and active participation, enabling children or enabling the learners or children to construct knowledge through observation, exploration, and interaction with their environment. The age appropriation or appropriate learning experiences, instructional materials, classroom routines, and assessment practices should be suitable for the development abilities and readiness of kindergarten learners to ensure effective and meaningful learning. I also have here the Republic Act number 10121. Next is which in which this act supports curriculum integration for disaster risk reduction. The curriculum decision schools shall integrate disaster preparedness, climate change adaptation, resilience education into classroom instruction. So this law, also known as Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010, establishes a comprehensive national framework for disaster risk reduction and management, or the RRM, by emphasizing prevention, preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery, recognizing the Philippines as one of the most disaster-prone countries in the world. The law mandates the integration of disaster risk reduction and climate change concepts into the educational system to build a culture of safety and resilience among learners. It directs the Department of Education to incorporate disaster preparedness, climate change adaptation, and resilience education into the curriculum to ensure that learners acquire the knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessarily to respond effectively to emergencies and disasters. As a result, this curriculum decisions should promote risk informed education that prepares learners not only academically but also socially and emotionally to cope with disaster related challenges. The curriculum decision that in the schools, schools shall integrate disaster preparedness, climate change adaptation, resilience education into classroom instruction because disaster preparedness, schools should integrate lessons on disaster awareness, where emergency response procedures, evacuation planning, first aid, and safety practices to equip learners with the knowledge and skills needed to minimize risk, and respond appropriately during emergencies. In the climate change adaptation, also that the curriculum states that this curriculum should include concepts related to the climate change, environmental conservation, sustainable development, and adaptation strategies to help learners understand the causes and effect of climate change and encourage responsible environment stewardship. So in the classroom setting, there is a resilience education where instruction should foster resilience by developing learners' problem-solving abilities, critical thinking, emotional preparedness and adaptability, and also the community participation, enabling them to recover from the respond effectively to disaster and other crises. So this Republic Act number 102121 underscores that importance of integrating disaster risk reduction and management into curriculum planning and classroom instruction to create resilient schools and communities. Through the inclusion of disaster preparedness, climate change adaptation, um, and resilience education, schools play a vital role in developing informed, responsible, and resilient citizens who are capable of contributing to disaster prevention, preparedness, and sustainable community development. And next is the legal basis is the Republic Act number 10627. It supports a safe learning environment and the instructional decisions, teachers should integrate values education, promote positive discipline, foster inclusive classrooms, and establish learner protection mechanism. And then this um, act, also known as the Anti-Bullying Act of 2013, was enacted to protect learners from bullying and ensure that schools provide a safe, secure, and supportive learning environment. The law requires all elementary and secondary schools to adopt policies and implement programs that prevent, um, address, and respond to incidents of bullying. It recognizes that a positive school climate is essential for effective teaching and learning, as learners perform better academically and socially when they feel safe and respected. Furthermore, the curriculum and instructional decisions should incorporate strategies that promote respect, empathy, responsibility, and positive behavior while protecting the learners um, from all forms of physical, verbal, social, psychological, and cyberbullying. Because instructional decisions in integrate values education, here the teachers should incorporate values such as respect, empathy, kindness, responsibility, integrity, and respect for diversity into daily lessons and classroom activities to cultivate positive relationships, and ethical behavior among learners. In promoting positive discipline, also instructional practices should emphasize constructive discipline approaches that encourage self-control, accountability, and responsible decision making rather than punitive or degrading forms of punishments. The positive discipline helps create a supportive learning environment where learners feel respected and motivated to improve their behavior. In fostering inclusive classrooms, also, teachers should create classrooms where every learner feels accepted, valued, and respected regardless of gender, culture, ethnicity, religion, disability, socioeconomic status, or learning ability. Inclusive classrooms practices reduces discrimination and bullying while promoting collaboration, mutual respect, and equal participation in learning. And to establish learning protection mechanism also in classrooms, teachers should implement classroom procedures that safeguard learners from bullying and abuse, including clear reporting systems, early intervention strategies, classroom behavior, expectations and coordinations with school administrators, parents, and child protection committees when incidents occur. So, in summary, this Republic Act number 10627 highlights the responsibility of schools and teachers to integrate learner protection into curriculum implementation and instructional practices by embedding values education, promoting positive discipline, fostering inclusive learning environments, and implementing effective protection mechanism. Teachers contribute to creating safe school where learners can develop academically, socially, and emotionally without fear of bullying or discrimination. Next legal basis is the Republic Act number 11650. It's institutionalizing the inclusive education where the curriculum framework states that curriculum should be accessible, equitable, inclusive, responsive, and differentiated. So this Republic Act number 11650, also known as the Inclusive Education Act, institutionalizes inclusive education by ensuring that all learners, particularly those with disabilities, have equal access to quality, equitable, and learner-centered basic education. The law requires the Department of Education to establish an inclusive education system that removes barriers to learning and promotes the participation of all learners, regardless of their abilities, backgrounds, or individual circumstances. So it emphasizes also that the schools must provide appropriate accommodations, support services, assistive technologies, and learning environments that enable every learner to achieve their full potential. And also, finally, this curriculum states that the curriculum and instructional decisions should be designed to address learner diversity and promote equal opportunities for meaningful participation and academic success. This Republic Act number 11650 in the curriculum, it's accessible because the curriculum should be designed so that all learners can access learning opportunities through appropriate instruction or instructional materials, assistive technologies, modified resources, and physical learning environments that accommodative diverse needs. So these are very essential in the Republic Act number 11650. Next is this legal basis, this table, tabular form for the summary of my presentation here. The 1987 Philippine Constitution, the main focus is to write the right to quality education. The Republic Act number 10533 Enhanced Basic Education Act. The main focus is the K to 12 basic education program. The Republic Act number 9155 Governance of Basic Education Act of 2001. The main focus is the School-Based Management or SBM. The Republic Act of 10157, the Kindergarten Act, Universal Kindergarten Education. Republic Act number 10121 or the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010. It it focuses on the disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. The legal basis are Republic Act number 10627 Anti-Bullying Act of 2013. The main focus is the safe and supportive learning environment. The Republic Act number 11650 Inclusive Education Act. So let's continue with this major DepEd orders supporting the curriculum and instruction decision framework. So how the Department of Education support this curriculum and instruction framework in implementing these two different schools, public schools and private schools, and how this DepEd order is being implemented to the grassroots in the Philippine basic education. So let's start with DepEd order number 21, series of 2019. This policy strengthens curriculum implementation. So the curriculum decisions, the curriculum should be reviewed. The curriculum alignment, localization, contextualization, and learner progression. So how this DepEd order number 21 series of 2019, it provides policy guidelines that strengthen the implementation of the K-12 basic education program by ensuring that curriculum delivery remains relevant, responsive, and aligned with national educational goals. The policy emphasizes continuous curriculum improvement through systematic review, um, alignment of learning competencies, and the adaptation of instructional practices to meet learners' diverse needs. It also encourages schools and teachers to contextualize and localize learning experiences so that lessons become more meaningful and applicable to um, to the learner's daily lives and community context. Through these provisions in this DepEd order, the policy supports evidence-based curriculum, planning, and instructional decision making that promote quality education and improve learner achievement. So curriculum decisions areas, schools and teachers should regularly evaluate the effectiveness, relevance, and responsiveness of the curriculum by analyzing learner performance, instructional practices, and emerging educational needs. Continuous curriculum review ensures that learning experiences remain current and responsive to societal changes. This is under the curriculum review. Next is the curriculum alignment. So the learning objectives, content, instructional strategies, learning resources, and assessment methods should be aligned with the K-12 curriculum standards and learning competencies to ensure coherence and consistency in curriculum implementation. The localization, it requires teachers and encourage teachers to adapt learning materials, examples, activities, and instructional resources using local culture, history, language, traditions, and available community resources to make learning more meaningful and relatable for the learners. And also the next is the contextualization. So the contextualization, the instructions should connect lessons to learners' real life experiences, local issues, and community situations so that the learners can better understand the concepts and apply their knowledge to authentic situations and problem solving. So in the learner progression, in the curriculum, the implementation should be supported by gradual development of learners' knowledge, skills, values, and competences across the grade level by ensuring that prerequisite learning is achieved before introducing more complex concepts and skills. So, in summary, the DepEd Order number 21 series of 2019, it highlights that instructional decisions should focus on ensuring learners' mastery of the prescribed learning competencies while providing teachers with sufficient flexibility to modify teaching strategies according to the learner's abilities, interests, and learning context. By emphasizing a curriculum review alignment, localization, contextualization, and learner progression, the policy enables schools to deliver high quality, learner-centered education, learner-centered education that is responsive to both national standards and local educational needs. So next order or the DepEd order is the DepEd order number 42 series of 2016. So one of the strongest policy basis for instructional decision making. Um, it requires teachers decide on learning objectives, instructional strategies, assessment methods, teaching resources, remediation, and enrichment activities. The framework emphasizes that this is learner-centered instruction and reflective teaching, formative assessment, and differentiated instruction. So, highlighting this DepEd Order number 42 series of 2016, it provides the policy guidelines on daily lesson preparation under the K-12 basic education program and serves as one of the most significant policy foundations for instructional decision making in the Philippine basic education. So the order emphasizes that effective lesson planning is essential in achieving curriculum goals, improving learner performance, and ensuring the quality of education and classroom instruction. It also encourages teachers to make informed instructional decisions based on the curriculum standards, learners' needs, and assessment result and the classroom context. It furthermore, it the policy promotes flexibility in lesson preparation while maintaining alignment with the prescribed learning competencies and the principles of learner-centered education. So why does this teachers decide on learning objectives? Because teachers formulate clear, measurable, and competency-based learning objectives that are aligned with the most essential learning competencies or curriculum standards to guide instruction and expected learner outcome. The instructional strategies also, the teachers select appropriate teaching methods, approaches, and classroom activities that actively engage learners and encourage also for collaboration, develop also critical thinking and address diverse learning styles and abilities. So the assessment methods used in the department based on the DepEd Order number 42 series of 2016 that teachers determine suitable assessment techniques in its techniques and including formative, summative, diagnostic, and performance-based assessment. This helps to monitor the learner progress, evaluate mastery of competences, and provide timely feedback for improvement. The teaching resources. This requires teachers to identify and utilize relevant instructional materials, digital technologies, textbooks, manipulatives, community resources, and locally developed materials that support effective teaching and meaningful learning experiences. The remediation also here, um, based on the assessment result, teachers design intervention activities that provide additional instruction, practices, and support for learners who have not yet mastered the required competencies, helping them to achieve the expected learning outcomes. Also, we will introducing also the enrichment activities as a teacher also. Um, Teachers also prepare enrichment tasks and extension activities that challenge advanced learners, deepen understanding, foster creativity, and promote higher order thinking skills beyond the maximum learning competencies. So that's for a classroom setting. So the framework emphasizes also the learner-centered instruction. Why? Because instruction should actively engage learners in constructing knowledge through meaningful, interactive, and collaborative learning experiences while recognizing their interests, the abilities, and individual learning needs. So we have also I will present to you also the reflective teaching. So why is it important to that the framework emphasizes on this? Because teachers are encouraged to continuously evaluate and reflect on the effectiveness of their lesson implementation, instructional strategies, and classroom management, and also the learner outcomes to improve future teaching practices. The formative assessment, uh, which is very important also, it provides the framework emphasizing this because assessment should be an ongoing process. Yeah, that provides immediate feedback to both teachers and learners, enabling instructional adjustments and supporting continuous improvement throughout the learning process. In the teaching instruction also, differentiated instruction is applicable. The teachers should adapt content, instructional methods, learning activities, and assessment strategies to accommodate learners' diverse readiness levels interest and learning profiles and special educational needs, ensuring that every learner has an equal opportunity to succeed. So, in summary of the DepEd Order number 42, series of 2016, it establishes a comprehensive framework for effective lesson planning and instructional delivery by empowering teachers to make evidence-based instructional decisions. By emphasizing learner-centered instruction also. Well, this DepEd Order number 42 series of 2016 really reflective teaching, formative assessment, and differentiated instruction. This ensures that classroom practices remain responsive to learners' needs while promoting the mastery of curriculum, competences, and continuous improvement in the teaching and learning. So next is the DepEd Order number 8 series of 2015. So it provides the National Assessment Framework. Instructional decisions include formative assessment, summative assessment, diagnostic assessment, and performance tasks and written works. Here, teachers are use assessment results to improve instruction. DepEd Order number 8 series of 2015 establishes the National Policy Framework for Classroom Assessment in the K to 12 Basic Education Program. The policy here emphasizes that the assessment is an integral part of the teaching and learning process, serving not only to measure the learner's achievement but also to improve instruction and support continuous learner development. This order also encourages teachers to use a variety of the assessment methods, and to align with the curriculum standards and learning competencies to obtain the comprehensive picture of learners' progress. By using the assessment data effectively, teachers can make informed instructional decisions, provide timely interventions, and ensure that all learners are given appropriate opportunities to achieve mastery of the required competencies. Why is it important that a formative assessment is really required or used in the classroom? It's because teachers, as every teacher, uses a formative assessment because teachers conduct ongoing assessments during instruction to monitor learners' understanding on a specific topics, identify misconceptions, provide immediate feedback, and make necessary adjustments to teaching strategies that enhance learning before the final evaluation. Summative assessment also, it is required at the end of the learning unit or grading period. Here in the three term, it is assessment period. So teachers administer summative assessment to evaluate learners' overall mastery of the prescribed competencies and determine to the extent to which learning objectives have been achieved. The diagnostic assessment before beginning instruction, mm, or before the instructional block, it has been introduced by the opening blocks in the three term in the newly DepEd order. Also, this diagnostic assessment to determine the learner's prior knowledge, which is important to be the grade level in the grade level that the children being enrolled in. And the strengths, the weaknesses, and learning needs, the result of this diagnostic assessment helps teachers plan appropriate instructional strategies and targeted interventions. Here, the performance tasks also. The teachers design authentic, performance-based assessment that require learners to demonstrate the application of knowledge, skills, and values through real-world tasks, projects, presentations, experiments, and other meaningful learning activities. The written works, teachers use quizzes, tests, essays, written exercises, and other written assessment to measure the learner's understanding of concepts, acquisition of knowledge, and development of critical thinking and communication skills. So next is the DepEd Order number 35, series of 2016. So here, this order supports instructional improvement. So why is it important in having this classroom setting? Because it supports also the instructional improvement, which decision framework focuses on the collaborative lesson planning, instructional coaching, action research, reflective practice, teacher mentoring. So this DepEd Order number 35, series of 2016, the Learning Action Cell as the K-12 basic education program, school-based continuing professional development strategy for the improvement of teaching and learning. So this institutionalizes the Learning Action Cell as the school-based continuing professional development strategy to design in improving the quality in teaching and learning outcomes. The policy recognizes that teachers learn best through collaboration, shared experiences, and reflective practice, enabling them to continuously enhance their pedagogical knowledge and instructional competencies. It also encourages schools to establish regular learning action cell sessions where teachers encourages schools to establish regular learning action cell sessions where teachers collaboratively address classroom challenges, share effective teaching strategies, and also this school learning action cell provides also to undeveloped solutions based on evidence and best practices. As the result, here in the DepEd Order number 35 series of 2016, instructional decisions become more informed, collaborative, and responsive to learners' needs, ultimately contributing to improved curriculum implementation and educational quality. So next is decision framework focuses on collaborative lesson planning. Why is it important? Because teachers work together to develop, review, and improve lessons that are aligned with curriculum standards, learners' needs, and effective instructional practices. Collaborative planning promotes the sharing of innovative ideas, teaching resources, and best practices that enhance classroom instruction. So the instructional coaching also is relevant in this DepEd order because experienced teachers, master teachers, and school heads provide coaching, technical assistance, and constructive feedback to help the teachers strengthen their instructional strategies, classroom management skills, and assessment practices. This continuous support contributes to professional growth and improved teaching effectiveness. The action research, which is timely relevant to the educational system of the Department of Education, the data used to driven all the decisions in the schools. So action research is very important because teachers are encouraged to conduct classroom-based action research to identify instructional challenges, implement evidence-based interventions, and evaluate the effectiveness of teaching practices. The findings of the research from the action research guide data informed decisions that improve both instruction and the learner performance. And also here the teachers mentoring. Beginning teachers and those requiring additional support receive guidance from experienced educators through mentoring relationships that foster professional competence, confidence, and instructional excellence. Mentoring facilitates knowledge sharing and helps ensure consistent implementation of quality teaching practices across the school. So next is DepEd Order number 31 series of 2020. So this order provides flexibility during emergencies. So what are these order? It supports decision regarding to alternative learning, delivery, assessment adjustments, distance learning, modular learning, and online learning. So this order interim guidelines for assessment and grading in light of the basic education learning continuity plan. So it provides the interim policy guidelines on assessment and grading under the basic education learning continuity plan BELCP during emergencies, particularly in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The policy recognizes the disruptions caused by the health crisis, natural disasters, and other emergencies require flexibility in curriculum implementation, and also the instructional delivery and learner assessment. It directs the schools and teachers to adopt appropriate teaching and assessment strategies that ensure the continuity of learning while considering learners' diverse circumstances. Also the access to learning resources and well-being. Through this policy, the Department of Education ensures that quality education remains accessible despite challenging situations by promoting flexible and inclusive learning approaches. Why is it important that the alternative learning delivery supports this order? Because alternative learning delivery, all schools and teachers are encouraged to adopt flexible learning delivery modalities that best suit the needs and circumstances of the learners, ensuring that education continues even when face-to-face classes are disrupted. So here in the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, the assessment adjustments also. Here, the teachers are expected to modify assessment methods, grading practices, and performance requirements to accommodate learners' varying learning environments, access to resources, and opportunities to demonstrate competency while maintaining fairness and validity. So in distance learning, the policy supports the implementation of distance learning through printed modules. That is one of being experienced by the teachers, digital resources, television, radio-based instruction, and other remote learning strategies to ensure that learners continue receiving quality education outside the traditional classroom. Here's come the very basic or the very known, the modular learning. So teachers utilize self-learning modules and other printed instructional materials that enable learners to study independently at home while receiving guidance and feedback from teachers and support from parents or the guardians. Here also we have also experienced also the online learning. So what is online learning is in COVID-19 pandemic where internet connectivity and digital resources are available. Teachers are encouraged to use online learning platforms, virtual classrooms, digital learning materials, and communication technologies to facilitate interactive instruction, assessment, and learner engagement. So in summary, this DPD Order number 31 series of 2020 provides schools and teachers with a flexibility to make informed curriculum and instructional decisions during emergencies without compromising learning quality. Next is DepEd Order number 24 series of 2022. So here, the instructional decisions include individualized education, accommodations, curriculum modification, assistive technologies. So because this policy or this order in the Department of Education, the policy guidelines on the provision of educational programs and services for learners with disability in the K-12 basic education program. So, in summary of this, is it establishes the policy guidelines for providing educational programs and support services to learners with disability or LWDs within the K-12 basic education program. This policy strengthens the implementation of inclusive education by ensuring that learners with disabilities have equitable access to quality education through appropriate instructional support, reasonable accommodations, and specialized interventions. It emphasizes that schools are and teachers must recognize the diverse abilities, strengths, and educational needs of learners and adapt instruction accordingly. Uh, Moreover, curriculum and instructional decisions should promote differentiated instruction, allowing every learner to participate meaningfully in classroom activities and achieve the intended learning competencies. So these are um, instructional decisions include the individualized education because individualized education teachers should develop individualized learning plans and instructional strategies that address the unique strength, needs, interest, and learning goals of learners with disabilities. Individualized instruction ensures that every learner receives appropriate support to maximize learning and personal development. Also, the accommodations. Here, the schools and teachers should provide reasonable accommodations such as extended time, alternative assessment, adaptive instructional materials, accessible classroom environments, and communication support to remove barriers that may hinder the learner's participation and achievement. The curriculum modification also, when necessary, teachers may modify learning objectives, instructional content, teaching methods, the classroom activities and assessment procedures to ensure that learners with disability can meaningfully engage with the curriculum while working toward achievable learning outcomes appropriate to their abilities. The assistive technologies also, it is relevant that these instructional decisions included in the Ed Order number 24 series of 2022 because teachers are encouraged to integrate assistive devices, digital technologies, specialized software, communication tools, and other adaptive learning resources that enhances learners' access to instruction, facility participation, and promote independent learning. Next is the summary of this DepEd order number 24. This is the last DepEd order that I will be discussing on the support of the curriculum and instruction in the decision framework in the Philippine education system. So, DepEd Order 24 Series of 2022, it reinforces the Department of Education commitment to include and equitable education by ensuring that instructional decisions are responsive to the diverse needs of learners with disabilities. Through individualized education, reasonable accommodations, curriculum modifications, and use of assistive technologies, teachers are empowered to implement differentiated instruction that enables every learner to participate fully and succeed academically. This policy supports the broader goal of creating inclusive learning environments where diversity is valued and every learner is given equal opportunities to reach their full potential. So now showing the curriculum and instruction decision framework. components in curriculum and instruction, where it the steps, decision making framework, and the main purpose of this curriculum and instruction components in Department of Education. So first is the curriculum standards. It establishes the expected educational outcomes prescribed by the Department of Education. The second is the learning competencies. It identifies the specific knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes learners are expected to achieve at each grade level and subject area. The lesson planning guides teachers in designing instructional plans, selecting appropriate strategies, learning resources, and assessment methods aligned with the curriculum. The step four is the instructional delivery. This is how teachers implement the planned lessons using learner-centered, differentiated, and contextualized teaching strategies to facilitate effective learning. Step 5 is the classroom assessment. It measures learners' progress and achievement through formative and summative assessment to determine mastery of competencies. The step 6 is the learner performance analysis. It analyzes the assessment results to identify learner strengths, learning gaps, and areas requiring instructional improvement. Step 7 is the intervention and enrichment, provides remediation for struggling learners and enrichment activities for advanced learners to address diverse learning needs. Step 8 is the continuous curriculum improvement, uses assessment data, learner outcomes, and stakeholders' feedback to continuously review, refine, and improve curriculum implementation and instructional practices. These are the key principles guiding curriculum. And these across the Cited Republic Acts of the curriculum instructions decisions are expected to be learner-centered, standard-based, competency-based, inclusive, equitable, culture-responsive, localized and contextualized, evidence-informed, flexible, outcomes-based, and collaborative continuous improved through assessment and professional learning. Thank you so much for your time and for your listening. Please like, subscribe, and share on my Facebook page. Here, just click oshameljan at yahoo.com. YouTube channel, here's my YouTube channel. And then this content is for educational purposes only. Just click and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening.